Anita Johnson. She is a financial behaviorist, and she is going to be talking about the psychological effects of money on Black people in America. And we're super excited to hear what she has to say, and we're excited to be learning new information. And we know that this is a big topic, and this is part of what we talk about on our channel, is being Black, married and debt-free, and money is a big part of that. And so just excited, and we're hoping to bring some good information to you.
A Black woman's net worth, an average single Black woman between the ages of 35 to 45 is $5 net worth, not your paycheck, right? So that's the difference. The paycheck, the net worth is your assets and your liabilities. What are your assets? It's $5. It was $1. It's up to $5 now. Okay, that's the average. And so those are the kinds of things that I looked for in research. Now, a Black woman, have you ever heard that a woman's income is 77 cents to a man's dollar? Mm-hmm. Right? That's a white woman. Okay. A Black woman is 67 cents. Okay. And then the Hispanic woman is 65. Through my research, I was really trying to see what is the root of the problem. It's not that the 67 cents, because our grandmothers and great-grandmothers can make 67 cents work, right? Right? But what's really the root of you even accepting 67 cents, right? 67 cents. My research changed, because now I'm trying to figure out the mindset. So that's how it's a long way, but that's how I became a financial behavior. So there's a couple of things that I found. It has to do with your mindset and your relationship with money. And we're going to get into all the spreadsheets and things like that, but I just want to deal with your mindset when it comes to money. I found out a few things. There's fear of money, socialization, financial socialization. Hopefully I said that right. This is what we feel, how we feel. We feel money corrupts. I'm in too much trouble. Money corrupts. Rich people are corrupt, okay? Or wealthy people are corrupt. And something called post-traumatic slavery syndrome. Anybody ever heard of Freedman Bank? All right, let's talk about Freedman Bank. In 1865, there was a guy named John, and he was a minister, and he decided that he wants to have a bank for Black folks, okay? For people who were just coming out of slavery, right? And soldiers that were just coming out of slavery or had been on the battlefield, they were getting their money and they didn't know what to do with their money, and they were being swindled out of their money and things like that. So he wanted to open a bank. And so he opened a bank in 1866, and it was headquartered, it was headquartered in New York, and it moved over to Washington, D.C. So in between this time, loans were going out to soldiers, going out to Black, and people could put their money inside the bank. Frederick Douglass came in, and everybody know who Frederick Douglass is, right? He came in and put some of his own money in the bank. Now, today, Frederick Douglass would be considered a millionaire, okay? And he was considered a millionaire then. Now, I didn't know he was considered a millionaire until I started doing some research. So he was considered a millionaire. So he put lots and lots of money, of his own money in the bank, trying to save the bank. But a few months later, it collapsed. And so they went to Congress. Congress did all these kinds of things, let the bank go, tried to spread the assets the way it was supposed to. But guess what? The bank was not fairly insured. So all those people lost all that money that was in that bank. So now, years later, how many of us have a fear of banking? Our grandmothers may have had a fear of banking, great-grandmothers had a fear of banking. They put it underneath the mattress, so to speak, right? And so we have that fear of banking. My parents were educators, but they did not educate me a lot in money and how they dealt with their money, right? And so we don't teach our children life experiences with money. I often ask people, if you had teenage kids in the household, if something happened to you, could they run your household? And they'd be like, no. Well, why? They don't know. Well, aren't you teaching them? No. Why aren't you teaching them? I'm going to pay somebody back. But don't get mad. Rich people are greedy. Money corrupts. It's not okay to have money, more money than you need. Right? This is that post-traumatic slavery syndrome. It's okay. Good people should not care about money. Well, that's not true. Right? So, if we're passing along poverty, generational, like you said, if we're passing along poverty, why can't we pass along money? It's the mindset.
So we just left the event and we had a great time, and one of the things that we talked about was getting to the root cause of the problem when it comes to our relationship with money within the Black community. So one of the things that she talked about was post-traumatic slavery syndrome and its effects and how it has impacted our relationship with money throughout history. She talked about how not a lot of Black people are actually investing in Black-owned banks, and so that's a topic that Marcus and I are going to explore in a future video. But one of the things that she talked about was Freedmen's Bank. Now, this bank was Black-owned, and even Frederick Douglass himself invested into this bank. But you know, if you really look into the story, tragically, it came to a sudden end, and it didn't have the federal protections needed to be able to secure money for folks. So people put money in, they weren't able to get their money out once the bank collapsed. And so you have traumatic things like that, and you have Black Wall Street, things that have happened that have really impacted us, and we have never really taken time to work through a lot of the trauma that we have experienced as people of color, as Black people in America. And so we got a lot of good things out of the talk. We got a lot of good nuggets, and we really hope to bring more information, and particularly more information on this topic. So stick with us. There's more to come.